Hello, my loves. Good morning to everyone except Trump supporters. Today is day 2 of my series on personal power, and today we're talking about boundaries. This is module 3-ish of the Codependency Cure mentorship program, and that's what this series is all about. Going through the first 10 or 11 modules of this program that is now open for application. The link to that is in my bio. So let's get started on boundaries. So the first thing I want to tell you about boundaries is that they are always for you, never against someone else. Boundaries are always to your benefit, always serve you. Boundaries are never made in retaliation, out of revenge, with vengeful energy. They're never made in order to manipulate or hurt or offend or control someone else. Boundaries are always, or should always be made in service of you. And it's funny because boundaries are a way that we claim our personal power, that we situate our personal power back within ourselves. But if you're making boundaries with the energy of manipulating someone, controlling someone, getting revenge on someone, making someone angry, trying to hurt them, all of these things, that's you putting your personal power back outside of yourself. So it's pretty counterproductive to just setting boundaries at all. There's no point in setting boundaries if you're trying to do it against someone else, because that is still creating a situation in which your personal power lies outside of you. That's creating a situation in which you have disempowered yourself because you're trying to control somebody else so that you can feel better or feel more in control or get some other outcome that you don't actually need to manipulate another person to get. So this is just so misunderstood. I hear a lot of people, even clients in my program, clients in my mentorship and private clients, they say, well, I really need to set this boundary. I need to do this and this and this. And I'm like, well, let's look at that. Is this boundary made in the spirit of controlling this other person and what they do? Or is this boundary made in the spirit of you taking care of yourself, you loving yourself? And to go along with this, I also just want to make it very, very clear to all of you that since a boundary is always for you and should never be made against somebody else, as a retaliatory action against somebody else, this also means that you don't actually have to involve them. Well, not that you don't have to, you never have to involve them in the decision-making process around the boundary. It's not up to them. It's up to you. You get to decide what this boundary is. You get to decide if the boundary serves you. Aubrey, thank you. You're so sweet. Hey, Tiff, welcome. So you always get to decide. So whenever you are considering setting a boundary, considering having a boundary in your life, number one, you never, ever, ever have to consult another person. I never want you to go to the person you're thinking of setting a boundary with and asking them, hey, what do you think about this? Something that happens when we start to set boundaries with people who we've been living boundaryless lives with forever, is that they're not super pumped about the fact that we want to set a boundary. If someone has been really enjoying the fact that you have no energetic boundaries ever and are always, 100% there for them no matter what they need at all times of the day or night or whatever, and you decide, you know what, I'm going to actually preserve my energy here, they're probably going to be a little annoyed that they can't just have access to you at all times like they're used to. So just know that. And along with this, I need you to know that not only should you not consult this other person when you're deciding if you want to make the boundary or not, because that is your decision, you have to own that, that's your responsibility. You also don't need to communicate the boundary to them. This is kind of weird. A lot of people are like, wait, what? Isn't that unhealthy? Shouldn't you absolutely communicate the boundary that you're setting with this person? No. Why not? Because it's not their responsibility. Your boundary is your responsibility. If it were their responsibility to uphold the boundary, to help respect the boundary even, yes, I'm serious. If it were their responsibility to make sure that the boundary was maintained or enforced, then yeah, that would probably require a conversation. And sometimes boundaries do require a conversation, but they don't always. what I want you to know is that you can have a boundary that you decide to set, and you just set it, and and you do not need to confer or communicate it to the other person involved. You know it within you, and the reason why you don't have to communicate it is because you are the one responsible for it. This is amazing. Again, since this whole week we're talking about personal power, this is you taking all of your personal power and placing it back inside of yourself, situating it back inside. Because if you want to increase your personal power and you want to do that through boundaries, but then you set a boundary where you're waiting for this other person to enforce it, you're waiting for them to give you permission to set it, you're waiting for them to respect it, you're waiting for them to approve of you having set the boundary, I'm sorry, you haven't given yourself any personal power. You've left yourself in a disempowered state, and you don't have to. It's totally unnecessary. So my love, that is my teaching on boundaries for today. If you have any other questions about boundaries, you can always DM me and reach out and ask. I also have a couple of different podcasts about boundaries. Can't remember the numbers right now, but go find my podcast, the Codependent Millennial Podcast, and check those out. And know that boundaries are something that we focus on heavily in the Codependency Cure Mentorship, which is open for application now. There are limited spots, and we now have 6 amazing women in the program. So if you would like one of the remaining spots, you should apply now. The link is in my bio to apply, and I cannot wait to read your application. I will talk to you guys tomorrow for day 3 of our incredible series on personal power. And until then, I hope you have a beautiful, empowered day. Love you. Bye.